There we go. Oh, we got Uli. All right. So this is what I want to do today. From this book, Creative Strategy, The Insight Matrix. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So what I'd like in the chat, what I'd love to see from everybody is like, what's your current challenge? I've been listening to a ton of Dr. Andrew Huberman lately, and his studies on dopamine. He has a lab at Stanford, and he was talking a lot about like growth oriented, like people who have growth mindset are excited by challenge. They know that challenge equals growth. So whatever your current challenge is, and the more, when you think about it, like just the more present it is, the more real it is, that's what we're looking for. So if it's also something that you're like, I don't want to share this, then that's probably the one you want to share. Not for my sake, but for your own sake, just so that you're really current. So for me, like my current challenge is actually with time. I have like 20 overdue teamwork tasks. My team wants to kill me. I'm in bottleneck in all these things. Like, and I've had this challenge before, but I've solved for it as well. But like it's currently up again. So if I'm not, some part of my ego is like, but I know how to deal with it. So that's not my current challenge. No, it is my current challenge because it's the state of reality. And if for some reason I'm not in a different state of reality right now with that. There's good reasons for it. I understand the reasons for it, but that's my current challenge. So in order for us to look at challenge, just want to get clear of like, what is the challenge that you're solving for? All right, I'm just going to give people a moment to think about this. And then I'm going to bring in a tool. So a lot of what Awake Living and Master of You are focused on is tools or structures for thinking. Mimi and I were on a conversation yesterday about HealerCon, and it was on the business model for HealerCon, and we were on with two other people talking about it. Like the brain power in the room is significant. The skill set's super significant. And we didn't use a thinking structure. We had an amorphous conversation, which it is what it is. But having structures to work problems through is usually like very, very effective. And so that's why a lot of what I try to do with problems is like, can we work a problem through a specific structure? With the problem, I want you to also think of like the outcome. So my problem might be time. Like, how do I do how do I get out of having overdue tasks? But then really like, what is my desired outcome? So my desired outcome is probably to have more people doing more of those tasks for me. So there's probably a delegation component to it. More than anything, it probably has to do with like the outcome is I have a spacious calendar because more people are doing these things for me. So along with your problem now, like what's the outcome? So the challenge, the reason we start with that is it's painful. Like it's like there's some level of like in it where you don't have exactly what you want right now, but you see the possibility of it. And this is another really fascinating component of growth mindset is there's an orientation towards possibility. What's I think so fascinating about this with neuroscience is like, these are all the things that help you have a really high functioning brain is you want to be oriented towards possibility, which is really different than it's all good all the time right now. Like that's another thing. That's the ground of being. The evolutionary impulse, this impulse to evolve sees possibility it orients towards possibility, and then it's uncomfortable. That discomfort is because that possibility isn't real right now. And then that's okay. It's okay now, and it's okay to embrace this possibility. The challenge is that, how am I going to get to the possibility? And then what we're saying is, when I'm saying outcome, is like, what does that possibility really look like? So for me, that is, there's no overdue tasks. The team's running like a slick machine. There's processes for all of these things. So whatever that is for you right now, get clear on like, what is the problem actually? What is the outcome that the problem's pointing towards? And then I think this might, I'm trying to think if I could share a screenshot. I'm just going to dry it out. I'm going to go to my pad. First of all, is anyone unclear of your challenge and the possibility that it's pointing towards? Does anyone want to just chat about that or clarify for a moment? Yeah, Alex.
Okay, so my problem is that I'm changing gears, and like you, I have more time on my hands. So I'm learning to...
You have more time or less? I have a less time problem. Do you have a more time
okay,
or less time?
I have a more time problem.
Okay, you have a more time problem.
Not a more time problem, more so that I feel that the more time is giving me time to digest things, like the whole absorption, like from Ayurveda, or that space creates new possibilities. So I'm in this shift from being totally overworked in suddenly having people that can do the work that I don't like, so I can focus on where I want to go. And in this space that I created, and that's my problem, is to find my trust. But I've noticed the more I'm giving some of the stuff space, I'm getting more answers rather than trying to push a lot of the times, in this overdoing. So that's
so what's the desire? So the desired outcome, just paint that picture. What's the opportunity?
The opportunity is to see myself more as a leader, even more as a leader, instead of somebody who works constantly on the ground to create. And so in the sense,
how will you know? This is the other thing, you guys, with the outcomes or the possibility, like how will you know you've arrived? Like what are the metrics of arrival?
The metrics of arrival is that I'm touching more people's more lives. And so I'm currently, where am I with my I'm about 50 people, and I think like I can reach more, like I can reach seriously, like 100 people.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're working with 100 people, and this is and you have other people helping you, essentially. That's what you're saying is a part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's more specific. So even with other people helping you, like what are the things that those people would be doing, so that we can kind of get a sense of a job title? What's the position?
Marketing. Basically marketing and
Right.
Strategizing, placing me into the right channels to be seen.
Okay, great. So what we did there is we started out with something of like, the problem is like, I have time, I want to use it well. But now what we actually got was like, how do I double the number of people I'm working with and have someone running marketing, or have me out of marketing as much as possible? Something like that.
That is already happening. That's what I'm saying. My additional time is coming from that I have somebody helping me marketing. I have two, actually. I have 2 team members at this point. They're doing excellent work for what I regard as excellent work. And I can sense that the strategies are slowly, creating traction, so I can create the engagement with my leads.
Okay. So it's really not around team at all. It's just leading 50 more people, and you have marketing in a place where they can drive those leads.
Yeah, the biggest dream is to have as such a TV show. I know TV shows don't exist anymore, but you know, that kind of modern form of TV show. So yeah.
Okay, so now that's different. So is it to have 100 members, or is it to have a TV show, or both?
I think one leads to another. You know, the funnel, as it kind of narrows, is like, who is going to work with me at a higher price level, as a VIP level, you know, so to reach more.
Okay, great. Go with the TV show. For this, go with, let's just, for this exercise, go with the TV show. And this is a great example of how to do this. So what I want to do, you guys, is teach this structure. This is a good example for us to work with. Work with your own example, and it may or may not make as much sense if you haven't if you don't have like the exact desired outcome. That really helps. If it's like, we now have a YouTube channel that's getting a YouTube show that's getting X amount of views, or some sort of like TV show that's getting X amount of views, that's driving traffic to 100 members. Great. That's a good specific enough thing for us to go on. If it's not specific enough, the exercise doesn't work quite so well, but this one will work great for this. So we'll use this one. Okay. And then you will all do this with your own, on your own. And it's called the Insight Matrix. It's from a book called Creative Strategy. It's an old book out of Columbia Business School. And then, so the problem here is like basically get started, and you guys will fill in whatever it is, but basically get started with TV show. Okay, so then the way this works is there's sources on this axis, and then on the y-axis there's elements. So I'll just write this down here. Elements. And so what we're looking to do, and I find this thinking structure super helpful for I'll often do this in like a Google spreadsheet, just because like there's boxes and it's searchable for those two reasons. Okay, so we have sources and we have elements. Let's first think of elements. Like, what are the elements that you're going to need to have or to learn about in a TV, for having this TV show? So like one element might be platform, like where it's hosted, right? So we could look at a platform. Another element might be the structure of the show. Is it a variety show? Is it a talent show? Is it an interview show? Is it right? So I'll just write structure of the show. So you guys, with any problem, you're looking at elements. Like what are the different elements? What are the different components that is going to make the thing work? If we're missing a component, the thing won't work. So you guys can ideate in the chat window with us here. Like, what are some other elements that you might think of here? Audience, thank you. Audience, and even we could put traffic in there or not, like who's going to drive, like the traffic to the show could be part of it. I'll separate audience out from traffic. I'll just make traffic its own. I'll put systems in there, like the systems behind the show, and then I'll put one more line and have tech. Just like what is some of the technology? Like in my business right now, the number of third-party integrations is a little nuts. But I imagine there would be a certain amount of technology, both
team, text and team.
Yeah, I'll put that with systems, team and systems, people driving systems. How does that sound?
Okay.
So the tech might be more of just like, we're using an Icon 540 to shoot this, and we're using a like kind of like a this, that, and the other thing. Okay, so now for sources, now we're looking for examples that we like. So who has a TV show you like?
The idea of the show, let me start with the structure of the show. It should be an interview show, because the idea is...
Okay, so who has a good interview show?
Oprah Winfrey is
okay,
sort of the...
Great. We got Oprah. So now if we look at Oprah, she's checking the box on structure. Is she checking is she checking a box on audience? Do you have crossover in terms of audience?
Yeah.
Great. Platform. What is she using for a platform?
She created her own network, as far as I know. So she started out on regular TV. I mean, she was asked to put up her own show. So I'm not sure these days.
Right. She started as a talk show host on a channel, right? And then eventually she created a network. So there's no crossover there, right? Because you're not looking to create a network.
No. Not yet.
How she drives traffic, probably not a good example. Systems team and tech is all probably out of our league here.
Yeah.
Great. But she checks 2 of those boxes, which is fantastic. So now that we've checked a box for structure, is there anyone really different in structure that you also want to capture as a we're looking for insight into, like, what we're basically trying to do is cross-pollinate. So the whole idea with this whole matrix is, like, never reinvent the wheel. Instead, and this is where this guy who wrote this, I haven't told you who that is yet, William Dugan, he also wrote Strategic Intuition. That was his book he wrote before this one, where he basically says, like, strategy is always based on, like, 2 things that already exist merging. Like that's where innovation happens. So when you're strategic about it, you're really clear on your 2 sources. Then in this book, he's like, oh, I need to teach people how to find the sources for the elements, and then to just create from that matrix. And this is more or less, this whole book is this insight matrix. So is there anyone else, just in terms of structure? Because that's a huge part of having a show, is like, what's the user experience going to be like?
So I'm just thinking of from the top of my head, because this is something that's only starting to blossom, like it's very far off, but I'm thinking Judge Judy, just because of what she's bringing forward into, like how she is highlighting cases. And my idea is to bring along, show people for who they are, even though we might not like them initially. And so that's why I kind of thought of Judge Judy in a way that she's in her cases, you get to see the person, why they are there.
So it's like there's the intimacy of it and the transformation.
Yes.
Okay, great. And you can put some of those notes in these boxes, like for like the why. This would be intimacy or something, exposure, transformation, blah, blah, blah. For Oprah, you said interview, probably also transformation, like a lot of tears on Oprah's show.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now we have 2 sources for that part. So now let's think in terms of platform. Like my friend Brett Larkin, who has the largest yoga following on YouTube, if you were looking at YouTube, you could follow someone like Brett. If you were looking at, depending on what platform you think you're going to be easy to access. So we're looking for a platform, and then we're looking for an example who's doing well on that platform.
IGTV and YouTube, I was thinking, as platforms for now.
Okay.
So
great.
Instagram,
and so who's
TV,
so now we're just looking for a source on those, who's rocking it. Because the whole point of the structure is, like, never reinvent the wheel. Pull what you like from a certain example that's already proven in the marketplace.
Russell Brand is doing an interesting thing where I could, that's my idea coming from, I started the podcasting, and together sending, while I'm filming my podcast, and I have it on a YouTube channel. And then, so the idea is to have a setup like him.
Sorry, who is it?
Russell Brand.
Okay. So, and this is what he's doing. He's got this IGTV podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he's kind of figured out that intersection of how to cross-pollinate content. Does he have a similar structure to the show? Is there stuff from there that you want to pull or not so much?
Some of it, yes, some of it not. He has also other shows, so it's not only that vlog, but I would definitely look at what he does because I like how they portray him or what they use.
Okay. Audience crossover or not?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then how he's in here, how he's driving traffic to the show. Do we?
Definitely, yes. Also interesting these days what he's doing.
Okay. Systems and team. Any? I
wouldn't know. You know, he's too big. He's like,
Okay, no problem. And then tech, we probably don't know either. So now let's think of it. Let's go to systems and team and tech, and maybe more to traffic. Because all we're looking here, you guys, is like who do we want to pull that piece from?
So system and teams. I mean, I'm thinking of teams, not in a way that I've seen it, but I already have somebody in mind who I like working with, and she works in film. So
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't know her team system.
What's her name?
Philippa. You know her
so
from Berlin. That's the photographer.
Oh, yeah. So she on tech more than teams, right? She can help you set up say a studio to shoot.
And she could film because she is a filmmaker. Yeah.
Okay. So like studio and film. Great. And this is the nice thing about this is like someone only needs to check one box. If they check more than one box, great. And you might not necessarily even use one of the things that they check that box for. Like for instance, you might decide that Russell Brand, yes, on platform, on, structure of the show, maybe not, and yes to traffic, but we'll get into that part next. I just want to point out that we only really need to check one box for what we'll definitely pay attention to this person for.
StreamYard, somebody's saying, I don't know that one. Amber. For tech. Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, so then we would add that. I'm just going to capture that, Amber. So StreamYard. Platform, does that check platform, Amber? And tech? Platform and
Thank you.
Tech.
Thank you so much.
Is it anything in traffic or anything in there? Are they helping? No, it's platform and check. Cool. Would that check any boxes with systems and team in terms of that or not really? I mean, some of these have so much.
It could a little bit because I guess I created a system around it when I started using it, but not. It's more just a platform and technology.
Okay. Okay. So this would be maybe not one we would circle in terms of systems and team, but it's noteworthy that it's there because usually when something's there, you just want to, if there's something you can use from it, great, but it might not be the thing that you totally focus on. Okay, I'm just going to move this there. Sorry, I'm getting a little backed up. I just want to make.
Yeah, so am I here.
That's why I like the spreadsheet. Add more columns. But I can't stare at spreadsheets for more than a couple hours a day, or I hate my job. Okay. Where are we weak in this? It looks like we might be weak in systems and team.
Yes.
So now we need an example of who's got something that's strong. I mean, there's softwares like Process Street that just help develop process around systems that are technical and online. So there's something like that. There's there's just specific people that there's someone that just runs the system for this. So that might just be a question mark of this could be a VA you don't have yet that just kind of runs this thing. What we do want to find is someone who's got about the same size operation that's strong in systems and team. And we would want to put their name in here, and we would want to find out what
they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. We basically just want their system rather than figuring it out. We want to take theirs and then cut and paste it and then edit it to make it ours.
I would need to go back to, I mean, I don't follow so many people on YouTube, you know, and I know some people and I like what they're doing, but it's more a shorter thing than I'm planning on doing. So it doesn't really relate.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like, you only need like one of these boxes to light up big to put a circle on it. So I'm putting a question mark on this circle because they don't need to have. It's really fascinating. They would probably need to have the same platform, that these two things would need to correlate because their systems are going to be built around that traffic. They would probably need to drive traffic in the same way. So I would want that one to match up. The tech, not so much, like film studio. The structure of the show, not so much. Audience for the show, not so much. And with audience, like I think for you probably have enough audience-based work with yoga health coaching that, but you might actually look, is this going to be centered, this is going to be in German?
No, in English.
And who's going to be the target audience? I will make a special blog. Who has the audience you want?
That's who has the audience?
And I would look both in terms of size and avatar. Like this is exactly the size audience you want and the type of people you want in there.
I think she does it in German. You know, I think Dana Schwand is at that kind of audience level that I'm looking
she is
for.
With a TV show?
Not with a TV show, but with like podcast, you know, with podcasting and being on Instagram very often, you know, so.
Okay.
So not in the show. So no, I wouldn't need food. That's something I haven't thought about yet. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's okay. This whole point is to help us think, you guys. That's all we're trying to do is learn how to think smarter. Because otherwise what happens with a problem is you end up either in an amorphous conversation about it with other people that doesn't have a structure, or you end up in an amorphous conversation with yourself. And what the yogis say about that is that's dangerous. Because it's repetitive. Like the mind will run in repetitive neural pathways. Whereas when you run it through a structure, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't know who has the audience I want. Maybe I don't even know how to find out who has the audience I want. But now, boy, you're asking your mind a better question. You're opening the neural pathways, and that's due to the structure. So that's why like helping. All of awake living is just structures. There's like these ways to structure yourself in relationship with the elements that helps you activate them. So what we're doing right now is a fire related structure. Like we're trying to problem solve. Whenever you're problem solving, you're using your mental power of awareness or fire element. And we're saying like, okay, what would happen if we had the structure of Oprah and Judge Judy, if we had the audience and traffic of Donna Schwant, if we had the crossover platforms of Russell Brand, if we had Philippa in the back of the house with film and studio, if we had StreamYard's system, or if we had StreamYard's platform and tech, and we had this questionable like system, like Maven, whoever that person is, and we got to like cut and paste our systems around this. If we had that, would that help us get started with a TV show? If we could marry those things and just take the best of all those things, then could we get started in a way that was strategic? Like that's this guy's whole point, is like creative strategy. So the creativity has to do with the structure of the show and exactly what is Alexandra's unique, cool show. Can we go about that creativity with some strategy?
Where do you put attracting audience then? I mean, you're talking about like wanting to have the audience,
traffic,
you know? That's traffic. So yeah, of course. Mm.
So is there anyone else that we need to, with traffic? Someone, I mean, this is a really good question of like, how did Donna build up her thing? And you can add more of these. And then you can also erase. You're like, oh, this person's not actually that useful, you know, like whatever, this won't be that useful. So then you just like take that out, because you discover in the process that there's a more useful source that has already solved that part of the problem.
Good.
I
mean, I feel like the traffic is coming. It's almost like what we talk about all the time about the funnel system, you know, what are you giving? What are you presenting? How can people see and find you? And so the TV show in itself is not only a means to an end, but something I would really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
You know, just for the fun of it, as much as for getting traffic.
Yeah. Like there's the personal growth component to leadership, right? Of like, you've got to follow your interests. Some things, we were talking about this yesterday, is like some things in, you know, in business you do to like, drive revenue, to drive revenue up. But some things you do to actually drive, it's interesting, it's to drive growth more in a sideways way. So like even me doing HealerCon, like the reasons for that are probably more lateral growth. Will it have a bump in revenue? Questionable. Like it probably will, but that if we just did it for that reason, if we were just trying to drive revenue, we wouldn't do it. But if we're trying to drive other measures of growth, which might be, you know, honestly, like my skills in certain way, the skills of our community, like PR, you know, like all these other things that drive growth for other reasons. And this to me is what keeps things really interesting, is like when you pay attention to both, that you're just not making decisions that drive revenue, but you're already driving other metrics of growth. Okay. So now the question is like, how are you going to organize this from here? So now that you would have a spreadsheet with this, you would now really break this down into specific outcomes, you know, and then with those outcomes, it might be that you record like an outcome on structure of the shows. You might record 5 shows that are this hybrid between Judge Judy and Oprah, that you're just like, you're just building shows on the platform that you're posting to these platforms, and you're trying to get maybe Russell Brand teaches the behind the scenes on how he uses multiple things. Maybe that's part of StreamYard. So you're doing the research in there of like, how can you push out to all channels in a way that is the right thing to do on that channel? Because each channel has its own appropriate behaviors and inappropriate behaviors. So you always want to be behaving appropriately on certain channels. With Philippa, it might be like making your studio and having her shoot a few sample things and then creating those real shows. An audience and traffic, it might, there might be a bit of research in there to find out what is the cost per view, or what is the number. So cost can be measured in a number of different ways. Like if it's organic, a lot of people think like organic traffic is free. And it's like, no, there's a cost. Like you have to create the stuff that's driving the organic traffic. Janine, who's our marketing person here, is like, hell yeah. 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 So what's the cost for traffic? And then what we don't have under here, and you already know what your upsell is in terms of your coaching. But you could have additional ways of recovering traffic spend. So
what do you mean recovering?
Like you could have low dollar things. So instead of like the one thing you're selling being coached by you, you could also have like a this and a that and the other thing that are in the $5, $10, $25, $100 range that you might sell to your listeners. So Oprah's model on that. And so we could have this whole other, we could have put another element in there in terms of advertising, because a lot of TV shows that model is driven by advertising traditionally. Same thing with podcasts, right? It's an ad driven model. So who's doing ads like that? Where are the sources? How do you bring that part in? All right, who likes the insight matrix?
Yeah, super interesting.
Sweet.
Instead of relying on like it'll all come together after you created the vision, it's almost like doing the fire part, right? With that.
Yeah, I think what this does, it's very much in there. It's very much in that strategic, like how do you create a good strategy? And this guy, I can read a little bit about his bio. So Dugan's book solves the most important problem of how innovation happens. Other methods of creativity, strategy, and innovation explain how to research and analyze a situation, but they don't guide towards the next step. Developing a creative idea for what to do, or they rely on the magic of brainstorming, just tossing out ideas. Instead, Dugan shows how creative strategy follows the natural 3-step method of this human brain, breaking down a problem into parts, searching for past examples, and creating a new combination to solve the problem. That's how innovation really happens. Dugan explains how to follow these 3 steps to innovate in business or any other field as an individual or team or company. The crucial middle step, the search for past examples, takes people beyond their own brain to a what works scan of what others have done within and outside of the company, industry, or country. It is a global search for good ideas to combine as a new innovation. Dugan illustrates creative strategy through real world cases, blah, 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 blah. So to me, it's this, just that search for past examples or search for current examples of like, who's proven it? You don't want to be the first person you want to be the first person to prove the new combination. You don't want to be the first person to prove any given element. Too many lessons learned, too much time. Someone's already done it. And then by just seeing like, oh, that's where we're getting that element. And then what I find with the matrix is you get less confused about like, you're not pulling, say, platform from Oprah, but you're not confused by that either. Because you've differentiated like, oh, Oprah's good for structure of the show. And Russell's good for platform. You're not going to Russell for audience or structure of the show, right? You're going somewhere, you're going to Donna for that. And so it just helps really compartmentalize who you're looking at for what. Sometimes there's added bonuses in there where you're like, oh, this person actually checks that box too. Great. But you never also just want like 1 or 2 other examples to check all the boxes, because then there's not enough innovation. Then it's like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, and all they do is run ads, right? Like taste challenges. I don't even know what they're doing these days. But it's like essentially they're selling the same product. It's, it's bad sugar water with caramel coloring and a lot of caffeine. Okay. So should we do questions on this or on anyone in their insight matrices? I just want to make it applicable. Thanks, Alex, for being our guinea pig. That's not a good term, guinea pig, because the term pig is so derogatory, at least in English. So thank you for being our shining star. Okay. I love the structure. How to define the audience. It's a good question. We might look at, the element.
Yeah, I meant how do you define the elements? Like that's the starting point for making your structure.
Yeah. So we can do another one. Should we do another one? Because I think it's just through repetition sometimes that this stuff gets clarified. What was great about Alex's thing is like we want to get a concrete enough outcome, like, oh, we're getting started with a TV show. So with that, we could see like, oh, well, where's it going to be? Like, how are people going to watch it? Are they going to watch it on Hulu or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or whatever the new one is, TikTok? We have a lot of TikTok happening in my household. I was watching I was reading some article, I think it was in the New York Times briefing, and it was like how TikTok use went like through the roof during COVID. And I was like, my household is guilty. I have no idea how to open the app, but there was a lot of TikToking happening. So what are the elements that are necessary for the thing to happen? And then the source is like, who's a good example? The source is just past examples. So you're just saying that that's my source, that's my past, that's where I'm going to go for that past example. The source, Anna's asking, is it always another person or company or tool? Yeah. We used a tool there. That tool is kind of a company. Or it's a technology. It's just saying like that. That could be that. What would be better is if we found someone using that tool, that would probably be good as well. But yeah, I think you can put, for some of us, because these things are smaller, we could put tools, especially because so much is driven by software as a service. But it's better to find the company that's using a few, say, for instance, there's like 3 integrations of softwares. We don't want to list each of those tools for the things that they do, because our thing would just go on and on and on. We want to find the company that's using those 3 tools as the source. I want to say like, oh, the way these guys use that. What we're also looking for in sources usually is innovation. Like this company was really good at this one thing. They were the best at this one thing. So Oprah was really good on this. A few of ours on here were good. Donna was good for German audience, right? Like not that many people have a German audience in Ayurveda. Donna's good at that. She checks that box. Oprah, really good on structure of the show. Like she in many ways like introduced, she was an innovator in transformational, heart-opening interviews with anybody. That woman can talk to anybody, right? So if that's what we're trying to mimic, we'd probably want Oprah down there just because she innovated on that in terms of structure of the show, at least in the modern era. Okay. Yeah, and you guys can unmute. We can have a more casual conversation. That's what I like about Awake Living, is we're a smaller group.
Cate, how do you have to put how you're going to make money into the grid?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I ended on that. So let's go back to that, because it is what Alex was saying is that upsell. I'll put a little line in here. So the sources would be, I would say, the business model. And so who's proving that's a great point, Mimi. And kind of at the end, I was like, we could say advertising is the business model. If we did, we would want to find an example of who's getting the numbers that we want in a similar space, or not in the same vertical necessarily. They don't need to be in health and wellness. They could be in, green technology or whatever, but as driving that business model, whether it's an advertising business model or other. This could be an upsell business model. It could be a little bit of both. So I ran out of space. I'm going to make another column, because this will be really good for Alex to think about. Because if she's going to have a studio and do a show and all the things, there's going to be a fairly sizable expense in terms of time and money, an opportunity cost. So, Alex, what's the business model? Is this thing going to pay for itself, or is it the upsell that's going to pay for it? Or is this thing going to make money? It's probably
this thing is going to make money. That's,
okay. Who's proved it?
Who's proved it?
And how are they making the money?
Who's proved this? I mean,
I would say
I'm
Oprah, if you say Oprah, it's not true really, because Oprah proved it with network television, and that's not what we're mimicking.
okay, I hear you. So who proved that?
Amber saying Marie Forleo. Do you want to expand on that? Is that how Amber, so that's not related to her B school. It's related to just the show itself makes money. Affiliate links?
No, I guess I was thinking of it as, I mean, her whole thing was doing the TV show, her YouTube.
Marie TV. Show. Yeah.
And then how she pays for all of that is B school by selling B school.
So that's the upsell model. So if it's the upsell model, Marie Forleo would be awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should, I've totally run out of room. I'm going to do this. This is going to take me a second. Select, you guys, this is like a mini training on copy. And now done. And now paste page.
So maybe a better idea would be to see it as an upsell model until it starts, covering its own cost.
Well, maybe, or maybe we should think more. Oh, I'm just trying to make this smaller. Sorry. Okay, now I have more room. It's a mess, but we have the original. Okay, so I would say maybe there's a few. So we can do both if we wanted to. And it's probably at this point worth noting. So this business model, we'll give it some more room. And we'll say upsell model. Upsell is an element. These are the elements. And then also there's advertising. And then there's also affiliate.
Okay.
Where you're pushing other people are, like, oh, here's Organifi, blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. So that's where we would then want to add these other sources. So we have Forleo, who's checking the box on the upsell column. Does she do any affiliate stuff? She does some, doesn't she? Yeah, she does affiliate. Good. Does she advertise? She just are people paying her money for her to talk about them? Nope. Okay. Advertising. Is there any podcasts or something like that you listen to, Alex, that are doing the advertising model? Where they're just selling, the advertising model is selling airtime.
No, but I was thinking about Susie Moore, who is a blogger she's a blogger, and she's doing a lot of upselling, through her blogging by finding I'm a successful blogger. Let me show you how to, and then that's her upsell, how to become a good blogger.
Okay. So what's her name again?
Susie Moore.
Okay. So then you got Susie Moore on upsell. You've got Marie Forleo on upsell. And then if you wanted to do advertising or affiliate, or just even start to look for people that you're like, I love the way, what you're looking at is that they do it. I love the way they do it. They innovated in the space of this or that. Like back in the day with podcasts, they figured out that it's one thing to sell a 30-second slot or a 90-second slot. It's a totally other thing to have the host endorse the product. Right. Yeah. So everything went from selling spots to endorsements. And endorsement is you get the pre-copy. They're telling you what to say. You make it yours. Then what they found is it's not just endorsing in that 30-second slot. It's can you weave it into the content? So it seems more natural. Yeah. Amber. Yeah.
So whether or not you like him.
Who does it well? Who does it? Because you know a lot about this.
I was I don't listen to his stuff anymore, but Tim Ferriss does this. Tim Ferriss.
Yeah. So this would be on advertising?
Yes. And his claim is he doesn't promote anything he hasn't used. And so he uses it, and he does exactly that, where you can tell it's an ad that's been written, but he says it as, oh, I started using this and this is what it did for me. And I think a lot of podcasters do that now.
Yeah.
I feel cringy when I mention some people, but Rachel Hollis and some other people who are doing these things, but whether or not you like who they are, that's how they're selling it. Pat Flynn does this.
And it doesn't even have to be you like how they are. You like how they're doing this element. You
Exactly.
like how they nail, like they check a box on this element. And that's all that's really important.
Exactly. And Pat Flynn does it really, really well. And
he does affiliate really well too.
Yeah, because he will talk, like he's an affiliate for like Michael Hyatt, and he talks about doing his like 3-day thing, and like he makes so much as an affiliate. Like he does a great job.
Yeah.
So anyway, my 2 cents.
Super helpful. Thank you for that. Luke Story does affiliate promotion, no upsell, podcast, and IGTV. Great. And this is the thing, you guys, is once you know what you're looking for, once you even know you're looking for a source on something, you will watch YouTube in a different way, or you'll use IGTV in a different way, or you'll start noticing like, oh my gosh, the way this person endorsed that product, like I wonder what, and then you'll ask the questions like, how much are they making? What is the system and process behind that? What's the team, who's the team person that's doing the different parts to make sure that these things happen? Because these kind of relationships, boy, they have their own team and system behind them. I'm like, we're really working on that right now, because like all these people want me to endorse products and yada, yada. And it's like, if it's not managed well, it's the biggest pain in the neck. And if it's managed well, then you get better and better partnerships, you know, and there's a lot more lateral promotion, et cetera. There's just a lot of cool things that can grow out of that. Okay. So any other questions on this structure?
Mary was asking whether, you know, I have to know my upsell, but I know my upsell. So,
so is it the question of like, so with, so your question, the first one around like financial model, do you need to define at this point what you're upselling? Yeah. So she knows that. And that's a good way also of like really looking back at these sources of like, does anyone have has anyone proven the TV with the upsell well? What Amber's pointing to is like Marie Forleo all day, every day for the last decade. So then she might know like, okay, because of the business model, the upsell, I've got to go to that source because she has. Yeah. If you don't have the upsell, then you would absolutely add that as a column of like, I want to use the upsell business model where I have a high ticket item that's in the back that they don't know about necessarily when they walk in the door, but the upsell, who this is perfect for, I want to attract them to walk in the door or watch my TV show. And so, yes, then at that point, upsell, if it doesn't exist already, that becomes a line item of like, how do I develop my upsell? Like, what is that thing? And even if we took the upsell as the thing, like that's you could do the whole insight matrix on what is my upsell? Like what's my product, right? And then you would break that down into sources, and then you would break that down into elements like, oh, I like how this person uses Zoom. I like how this person leads live events. I like how this person communicates, you know, like what platforms they communicate. And you just kind of break it down into those components. I like how this person sells. I like how this person markets. And then all of that can be broken down just into that one problem of like, what is the thing that I'm selling that actually makes the money, that makes the bigger money. Yeah. Great questions. Anyone? Oh, Brené Brown does advertising on her podcast. Thanks, Janine, on that. So that might be a good person to look for on advertising.
You know, and she does it really subtly. I didn't even realize she was selling me something. She just started talking about this product.
Like all of a sudden you're buying something and you're like, where did I hear about it?
Yeah, that she uses for her kids or something like this.
Yeah.
And I was, oh, wait, that's an ad. You know?
Yeah.
So,
that's a good ad. Is like you're buying the thing and you don't even, and you're like, where did I hear about that? Yeah. That's what's so cool, I would say, about the evolving marketplace. I mean, remember back in the 80s, like there were billboards, there were ads. Can anyone sing a jingle? Can we have a cereal box jingle? Anybody? Anyone? Any jingle? Yeah, Amber, give it to us. Because we'll all know it.
you mean you actually want me to
I want you to
sing?
sing it.
Okay, I can't sing, but 12 beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
Awesome, right? So like that way of advertising is done, more or less, unless you have like a ton of money and a crappy product. If you have those two things, that still seems to work a little bit. But most kids these days don't know jingles. They don't know jingles for their cereals. They don't. Why? Because like that's done. And instead it's this diversification of audiences where instead of having 1 or 2 or 5 channels, you now have 100,000 channels on any platform at least, or whatever it is, a few million on each platform at least. And you have a massive diversification of audiences. And when you look at it at the end of the day, like most people in here need X amount of customers. It's not that many comparatively to how many, whatever that, thanks for the jingle, product is for. So then you're just looking at like, who does this really, really well? So if Brené Brown can seamlessly sell where you end up buying the thing and you're like, that was slick. Then you study that. That's your source. The element is advertising and you study it. You just become a total student to like, I got to get as good as that. You don't have to innovate on it. The innovation is all the combination of these things. Okay, cool. Anyone on anything awake living then? I just want to open it up for like wherever you're at in the course, whatever's relevant. How can I be of service? How can we be of service? Jackie.
I've asked this question several times, and you were suggesting on the last call that I jump to another element not in the proper order. Is there any reason to follow the krama of the elements in a certain way, or is it okay to jump around? I'm still not clear on. I've gotten different answers on that from different people.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'll draw it out. So this is like, the kind of question here is like how much does when does order matter? So when does order matter? So does order matter? Yes. When does order matter? Does order always matter? When does order matter? And so did I tell you to like go read water?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, go read water, Jackie. And she's like, I've just done space. What about fire? So in terms of these 5 elements, and I don't pretend to have all the answers at all. All I can report back on is like what we noticed in the evolution of this curriculum over time, and maybe the last like 5 years of people testing the method. Because I didn't, with space, like why is space so important first? I don't know, is Rach, are you here still? Are you available?
Yep, I'm still here.
Why is space, why is space in front? Why does that, does it work? And if so, why?
I mean, my experience, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
My experience with space is that it is like a detoxification.
Yeah, totally.
So that the more,
or like even a purification, we could say something like that.
Yeah. So the more I clear and sort of iterate on the clearing of my space, it allows for something else to move through.
Yeah, like some other, yeah, and
which
vibration and resonance.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I was even just going to say, even like a kind of capacity for doing the work that is really necessary versus the distraction of moving shit around.
Yeah. It highlights habits too,
physically
right?
and metaphorically.
Like
Yeah.
there's like you start to see your own habit. Like one of the habits that I noticed, I continually notice around space, especially living with other people, is like who puts things away versus who jumps, right? You can see what, like, you can follow, like Christine is nodding, like you can watch anyone living with children. It's like, you can see the trail.
Yeah.
You know exactly what happened. You just follow the trail. And that's an example of what we're not aiming for. Right, is like, can we get cycles to completion and then go on to the next thing? Can we put something away before we start something else? And all of this creates, when we do that, it creates a level of clarity. There's this level of vibration, of realizing future vibration, because our next reality has a vibration, it has a resonance. And if we can start to bring our atmosphere in alignment with that, it will pull us forward. So to me, space is like, I'm always looking for the hack. Some people hate that word, and maybe it's not a hack, but it's like, it's the faster krama. It's like the faster sequence with that. And to me, I can always go back to space and get a higher degree of mental clarity, even if it's bringing new things into my space that just have a much, much higher vibration. Then it totally starts to change things. Also, when we're not, there's an element to me with space that actually it involves risk. Like for those on a growth path, like you're taking, there's a level of like calculated risk, but there's just a level of risk in general. Like you're pushing yourself into new space, into new territory, into new levels of growth. I do this very much physically with property. And so I'll notice, and that might just be the nature of my relationship with my husband more than anything, and the nature of where we live, and I don't know, karma and dharma and all those things. But like when I notice stagnation, I'm like, oh, we need to take more risk with property or physical space. We need to actually up our ability to shape space on the physical level. For other people, it's not on the physical level. It can be on the mental level. It can be on a number of different levels. Okay, so there's that. So after space, the question is like what matters next? Most people, like Jackie, for you, earth element that's the box that you've already checked. Your body rhythms, you've been teaching yoga for 30 years. You've been a yoga health coach for 5 years or something. And so it's like, for earth, check. Like, yes, you could get some minimal improvement there, but it's not going to have a maximal effect. So then you go right to fire, right? So for people that don't have solid body rhythms to be able to take on more, to grow, because the body rhythms give you resilience. The resilience enables adaptability, right? You've got the resilience, and so you're adaptable. So we're just going to say earth, we can check that box. So then the question was like, okay, so then what is next is get really clear on the vision. And this is fire element, where you get light, get clear on the vision, get clear on the strategy, and then get clear on the planning. And that's what that last exercise was. That last exercise, was basically vision to strategy, and then the strategy starting to give way to a better plan. But what I said to you was like, okay, water is way down here. So we've got air, and then we've got water. Now water element, so air is the field of time. Like now that you have a better plan, your relationship with time has got to change. So if Alex takes on this TV program, hi, did you find the little, it's right on the chair downstairs. Yeah, have a good trip. Give her a big hug from me. Okay, I love you. If you implement the plan in the field of time, stuff comes up. And that's water element, is like what gets churned to the surface? Churned to surface. So Jackie shared, when she had her, what happened exactly, Jackie? What was the accident?
Recently, or my original bike accident?
Yeah, you can go you could do original and then recent, just both.
Okay, so the original accident was 2016, major bike accident, shattered the top of my tibia, had, you know, this huge contraption over my leg. I couldn't like walk until, that was September, couldn't walk till December, you know, so it was a huge recovery that took several years to get, you know, to be back active. I was starting to teach in January, but I had this huge expansion of my career right before that. Like I was, you know, invited to China for the first time. I was doing all these, I was invited to a big Samavesha gathering of the Anusara community. First time invited to Kripalu that fall, which, and I couldn't do any of that, you know, and I had to waylay the China trip to the following fall, which I ended up doing, but a lot of the things that were like really expanded. So it was like that classic upper limit.
Yeah.
So,
And then what was the recent?
Recently, I had a couple falls, just, you know, tripping falls, and hurt my wrist and my shoulder from the last operation. I had like 5 operations after that accident, by the way. The last operation in September, I was using crutches. They had to re-break my leg and straighten it. And so then I had recovery from that, had a huge infection, you know, from the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And I was crutching and my left shoulder froze. So now I've got a frozen shoulder, and I've been tripping and falling, you know, like twice in the last 6 weeks.
Okay. So my recommendation to Jackie after like our last conversation was like, okay, you checked the box on space. She killed it, right? Has anyone been following Jackie on Awake Living Forum? Killed it on space. And then I was like, okay, I know you can check that box on Earth. So because of all this, like, what is the stuff that, why is stuff coming up? So like when big stuff comes up repeatedly, because it will come up through just setting a goal and going towards it, stuff will come up. What I was saying to her is like, just go read Water. And you guys, I put all the audio files chapter by chapter on our course hub, just so you guys who don't have an Audible account or don't want to do it that way can just get it through the hub. Just listen to Water. Each of the chapters is like less than an hour. So I would just listen to it to conceptually get this process of like Water. In many ways, it identifies what needs to get turned to the surface. And so, and it's also, it unlocks flow. Like when we actually process the stuff that gets turned to the surface. So from there, you would just go right back to fire, but you don't have to do all the exercises in Water. I was like, just get the concept of that underworld and processing, because that will actually help you build a better strategy. So also in Water, I put flow, currency, and current is money. And because a lot of your next level growth is like, how do I break through the glass ceiling and have more flexibility in your schedule and have more commitment, like more committed students paying more money, essentially, or members paying more money. I was like, just go to Water. Let's just help you identify. I know you know the bigger issues, but see it in the context of awake living, the past cycles of growth, and then that might help you influence better strategy.
I wanted to share this thing that happened yesterday. Is I started doing that mantra that Gay Hendricks have about, you know, success, love, and abundance. And I was out on my walk doing that, and I came home, and this couple who's been just sort of flaking off, one of my private couples just spent $1,650 yesterday, committing to 10 weeks, and they had been so flaky for the last 6 months, and now they're back in the groove. And I got 2 new clients this week. So I just feel like, you know, that something is already churning and flowing from just like starting to change the mindset. So
Great.
I just had to share that with you. Wow, that's a really powerful mantra.
That's a powerful mantra. Do you remember, will you say it? I don't have it on the tip of my tongue.
So it says, I expand into abundance, love, and success, and inspire others to do the same. Expand into abundance, love, and success, and inspire others to do the same.
That's great. Yeah.
Very powerful. Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Now, I was like, how do I do this? Where do I not make sense? Just go and listen to the.
Yeah, just listen to it. Just get the, and even, just, that's kind of what I like about audio, especially for those who can, I know reading is faster than speaking for most people, but it's often more convenient to listen. Like there's things you can multitask, whereas with reading, you can't multitask. So I'm just kind of like, if you want to just like kind of blow through and just blow through water, like just get that in your brain and then go to fire. My guess is that some of the context for processing might be clarified, and some of the things around money might clarify. With any system, it's like bodythrive. When we first started teaching bodythrive, when I first started learning about the bodythrive habits, dinacharya, it was like everything started in the morning. Wake up early, do this and this and this and this and this. And I was like, well, but if I'm eating too heavy and drinking alcohol at night, like I'm not going to wake up early and I'm not going to feel like doing those things. And so it's the same order, but it's just like, where's the right, it's like really, where is the right start point? So if any of these boxes for people are checked, it's just like, go to the next thing and get the iterative system. Like it's Dinacharya's iterative bodythrive habits. I took the same thing and I was just like, start earlier because your issues will get resolved faster this way. Instead of setting yourself up for failure, you'll set yourself up for success. But to me, what happens with any of these things is like, it's like a tiger chasing its tail. At some point, it just becomes a blur of a cycle that's iterative and it's just rolling. It's just going. And all of a sudden you'll realize like, oh my gosh, space element is out of whack for who I need to be next. This thing's got to go up a level. When you do, you'll get a next level of clarity. You'll get a next level of strategy. You'll implement it into the field of time. New stuff is going to come up to be integrated for you to expand into the next level of yourself. That will be clear how to do that. And then the system it's just a cycle. It's just kind of a rinse and repeat until it becomes something that you don't even think about anymore. You're just you're just doing it. And then when you run into an issue, you have the structures. Like, oh, I've got an issue. Great. I've got a handful of which thinking structure applies right here. So Shane, I see you're here. I was on yesterday with Ed and Kara of Speech Skills, and I kind of went back to they wanted like 15-minute like quick actionable solution, and I was like, we need to back, like in my perspective, we need to back way up to a SWOT. Like, what are the strengths right now that your company has? What are the weaknesses right now? What are the opportunities in the marketplace? And what are the threats in the marketplace? And just having these thinking structures, so when you have any problem, what starts to happen, and it seems with practice, intuition gets better. Has anyone ever noticed that? Like with practicing eating well, your intuition around food seems to go through the roof. The same thing's true with like which structure to use appropriately. It's like with practice, you naturally just think of like, oh, there's the structure that's really appropriate right now to help us figure this thing out, or help me figure my way through this. All right, anyone on anything? It's been interesting listening. I've been listening to a lot to Dr. Andrew Huberman, Huberman. I think I already mentioned him, but he does a lot of work with high performance like SEAL teams and the Canadian highest level military, and like he also has this neuroscience lab at Stanford, and he's more or less like just studied the hell out of dopamine, which is this neurochemical in our bodies that's released in pursuit of the possibility. And what's now understood like more than ever, and this is in the Yoga Sutras from a few thousand years ago, this whole like vairagyam, abhyasa vairagyam of like practice going towards the goal without attachment. What they're finding in these dopamine studies with people that are like super high performance is that Yes, you need to orient towards possibility all the time. So when we look at space element, it helps us orient towards the horizon. It helps us orient towards possibility. When people don't do that, it leads to both anxiety and depression. Depression because like your world's too small, and anxiety because you don't have access to like the exhale, to like deep space. But the other thing about dopamine that they're finding is that you have to stop and realize, like constantly stop and reward yourself for how far you've come. And all that takes to do that is just realize it. So like even doing an insight matrix, there's like an aha that comes with that. When you stop and be like, look what I just did, you actually get a dopamine hit that actually helps drive you even further towards possibility. And then that helps balance, you know, your serotonin levels, your melatonin levels, your norepinephrine levels. Like it affects all of these other things. It's not just the pursuit of the goal, but the pausing and saying like, oh, look, I did this little thing well. I had a good breakfast, or I had a good intermittent fasting, or I had I looked at the horizon for a few minutes at dawn. So I just wanted to share that, because there's a sense like when you're en route, like Alex to the TV show, it can just seem like so big and so there's so many parts and it's exciting, but we have to see like, wow, you got your place to a place where you can check that upsell box. Great. You can check these other, boxes in terms of having certain relationships that'll help, and skills and assets that'll help you do that. And that's what actually can really drive the whole process forward. All right. I just want to say too, like these, like even if I look meme at like HealerCon, like we will run, like the next thing we do is run this through an insight matrix of like, what do we like from online events? What do we like from in-person events? What do we like from the business models? What do we like from the vendors? Like all that thing, like we get more insight. You guys can also do this in terms of like a family vacation, right? Of like, you can insight matrix around the family vacation and like, what are some of the elements? What are some of the sources? And what I find with these, it's the practice that enables you just to like think of the right thing in the moment. Like many of you know recipes where if I'm like, hey, go make a green smoothie for yourself, like you're your favorite one, you don't have to get a recipe book out. Am I right? You got that one dialed in. At some point you followed a recipe for something, or like banana bread, or like whatever your family favorites are. These structures are just like that. And the only way they get to be memorized recipes is through practice. And the only way they become intuitional things, you're like, oh, let's use this one in the moment, is through practice. And so you can do an insight matrix on like the silliest thing and just kind of get used to the structure of it. And then it's there for when you need it next. All right. Any closing thoughts, ahas? Janine saying super valuable. I'm so glad. Shane saying he can picture the conversation and the wheels spinning. Yay. Anyone else? You can unmute.
So you're just giving us too much to think about, Kate. That's the problem.
Yeah. I know, it's like we never have to like worry about me having nothing to say, do we?
Yeah,
At least
it's gotten much more intense and impactful over the past year.
Yeah. I know it's interesting, right? Like one of the other things is interesting listening to Huberman talk about like what happens in the brain. Like there's sensations, perceptions, feelings, thoughts, and actions. And it happens in that order usually. And he basically did an insight matrix on leaders, like people who have like human innovation leaders, like our ultimate performance leaders, or whatever we want to call that. People who are like, how amazing is it to be a human? Like, let me find out in myself. And he did an insight matrix more or less on people who approach human innovation in each of those categories. So he's like, Wim Hof, sensations. Like the cross between where sensation and perception happens, like the guy spends hours in ice water. he's playing in that realm of like, how do you transmute sensation and have a different perception of sensation? And then he pointed out this other guy who I can't remember because I hadn't heard of him, who works exclusively on action. And my guess is this person comes more from a military background. A lot of the military is trained this way, where in stress you act. You don't feel, you act. So even if the action, and I was reading a blog post on this the other day, this I can't remember the position, but some like really head honcho military guy was like in training his troops. He's like, in this situation where it seems like you can do nothing, you like sing yourself a song. That was the example. He's like, if you can, you clean your ammunition, like you clean your weaponry, like you move to action. And to me, this is really fascinating when you think of Danielle Laporte's work in the desire map. She's like, just work in feeling, like feel the feelings you want to feel. Don't feel the feelings you don't want to feel, right? So if like you're stuck in depressed or you're stuck in anxious, like don't feel that. Decide what feeling you want to feel and feel that. That's like the desire map 101. So I think it's kind of fascinating to see, you know, in all of these things of like, I orient towards action in general, because I just find it's my way to move something forward. So whenever I get sort of stuck or overwhelmed, it's like, what's the next small action I can take that'll be the pivot? And I just want to say, like, our community going through COVID, I think did extremely well. I mean, I'm like, wow, that was amazing to see how a global community was able to be grounded, solution oriented, supportive to their people, right? I mean, just really like positive, connected, like all of these amazing things. And I'm like, wow, just to Brenda's point, like the skills that we're learning in here are only going to be more relevant in your futures. I promise. I promise. I'll always keep it relevant. Okay.
I noticed,
Awesome.
I was going to say too,
Yeah.
I noticed the more, personally, the more I've allowed myself to express myself again,
Yeah.
it opens up a floodgate. I don't even feel like stopping like I did before. It kind of allows me to follow the vision, whereas before everything was always holding back. But so wherever you're holding yourself back from expressing, open it up. Because it's going to make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Great. Water element. Yay. I love it. And that's coming into integrity with like how you feel in voice and articulation. And yeah. All right. I have lost the power to unmute everybody. I'm not sure why Zoom changed the settings, but I no longer have the power. If you want to unmute and say goodbye, please do. Lots of love.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Amazing work.
Yay.